Learn about the world. Brunei. Brunei is an oil-rich kingdom located along the northern coast of the island of Borneo in Southeast Asia. Brunei consists of two non-contiguous parts, one bordering the Malaysian state of Sarawak. It shares a maritime border with Malaysia. Brunei has claimed a continental shelf exclusive economic zone extending 200 nautical miles from its coast, extending Brunei's territorial waters deep into the middle of the South China Sea. Basic information. Full name, Kingdom of Brunei. Government type, totalitarian monarchy. ISO, BN, BRN. Country domain, BN. Phone code, +673. Time zone, +8 o'clock. Capital, Bandar Seri Begawan. Major cities, Kuala Belait, Syria, Temburong, Panaga, Tutong. Area, 5,765 square kilometers. Terrain, coastal plain rising to mountain range. West, lowland with a few ridges. Climate, equatorial tropical. High temperature, high humidity and rainfall. Population, 465,845 people, May 2025. Main ethnic groups, Malay, Chinese, other indigenous groups. Religion, Islam. Languages, Malay, English, Chinese. Iban and other local dialects. Literacy rate, 94.7%. Resources, oil and natural gas. Agricultural products, rice, vegetables, fruits, livestock, forestry, fish. Industries, petroleum. Petroleum refining, liquefied natural gas, construction. Exports, commodities, mineral fuels, organic chemicals. Exports partners, Japan, Korea, Thailand, India. Imports, goods. Mechanical machinery and equipment, mineral fuels, motor vehicles, electrical machinery. Imports partners, Singapore, China, Malaysia, UK, South Korea. Currency, Brunei dollar, BND. Foreign relations. Until 1979, Brunei's foreign relations were managed by the UK government. After that, they were handled by the Brunei Diplomatic Service. After independence in 1984, this service was upgraded to ministerial level and is now known as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Officially, Brunei's foreign policy is as follows: mutual respect of others' territorial sovereignty, integrity and independence, the maintenance of friendly relations among nations, non-interference in the internal affairs of other countries, and the maintenance and the promotion of peace, security and stability in the region. With its traditional ties with the United Kingdom, Brunei became the 49th member of the Commonwealth immediately on the day of its independence on the 1st of January 1984. Brunei joined ASEAN on the 7th of January 1984, becoming the 6th member. To achieve recognition of its sovereignty and independence, it joined the United Nations as a full member on the 21st of September of that same year. As an Islamic country, Brunei became a full member of the Organization of the Islamic Conference, now the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, in January 1984 at the 4th Islamic Summit held in Morocco, after its accession to the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum, APEC, in 1989. Brunei hosted the APEC Economic Leaders meeting in November 2000 and the ASEAN Regional Forum, ARF, in July 2002. Brunei became a founding member of the World Trade Organization, WTO, on the 1st of January 1995, and is a major player in BIMP-IGA, in April 2009. Brunei and the Philippines signed a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, that seeks to strengthen the bilateral cooperation of the two countries in the fields of agriculture and farm-related trade and investments. In 2009, Brunei agreeing to accept the border in exchange for Malaysia giving up claims to oil fields in Bruneian waters. Brunei was the chair for ASEAN in 2013. It also hosted the ASEAN Summit on that same year. Freedom of assembly and movement. The government's emergency powers restrict the right to assemble in this country. Public gatherings of 10 or more people require a permit from the government. And police may disband unofficial assemblies of 5 or more people deemed likely to cause a disturbance of the peace. The government routinely issues permits for annual events, but occasionally disrupts politically or otherwise sensitive gatherings. Organizers of events on sensitive topics tend to hold meetings in private rather than apply for permits or practice self-censorship at public events. The government accepts most applications for forming associations, but applicants are subject to background checks and naming requirements. Approved organizations deal with matters such as pollution, wildlife preservation, arts, entrepreneurship, and women in business. Freedom of religion. The official religion in Brunei is Sunni Islam, but the constitution allows for the peaceful practice of all religions. The government enforces Sharia law, which includes corporal and capital punishments for offenses such as apostasy and blasphemy, although no capital punishments have been enforced since 1957. The government permits non-Muslim religious minorities to practice their faiths but bans religious groups it considers deviant. Political freedoms. The country is ruled by the Sultan through hereditary birthright, and citizens have no ability to choose their government. Children's rights. The father or, after an application process, the mother is the source of citizenship. Birth within the borders of the nation does not confer citizenship. Every birth is recorded, and boys and girls are treated equally. A special pass must be applied for by stateless parents if their child is born here. It is against the law to fail to record a birth, and doing so afterwards makes it challenging to enroll the child in school. Although it is illegal and was convicted, it does not seem to be a common occurrence. Women's rights. Secular law provides imprisonment and caning as punishment for rape, while the Sharia penal code provides stoning to death as the maximum punishment. The law does not criminalize rape against men or spousal rape, and sexual intercourse by a man with his wife is not considered rape as long as she is not younger than 14, 15 for ethnic Chinese women. There is no specific domestic violence law, but authorities can arrest individuals under the law related to the protection of women and girls. The penalty for domestic violence ranges from 1 to 2 weeks in jail and a fine for minor assault to caning and a longer prison sentence for serious injury. Islamic family law provides protection against spousal abuse and allows for the granting of protection orders, with the penalty for violating a protection order being a significant fine. Imprisonment of up to 6 months or both. Disability rights. The law in this country does not require accessibility or prohibit discrimination against people with disabilities in most public services, including access to buildings, transportation, and communications. Worker rights. Workers have the legal right to form and join unions, but unions are subject to significant oversight by the Registrar of Trade Unions. The law prohibits collective bargaining and strikes, and there were no unions or worker organizations in the country. Unions must register with the government and are subject to the same laws as other organizations, with penalties for non-registration. The law prohibits affiliation with international labor organizations without government consent and restricts the use of union funds. The law requires union officers to be bona fide, and penalties for violating union laws include fines and imprisonment. NGOs operate in labor issues but practice self-censorship to avoid confrontation with the government. Transport in Brunei consists of air, land, and sea transport. Previously there was some rail transport in Brunei, but eventually most of it was closed down. Several public and commercial sector organizations are in charge of creating and overseeing these networks and infrastructures. The Ministry of Transport and Infocommunications, MTIC, is in charge of overseeing the maritime and aviation industries, as well as planning and regulating all kinds of land transportation. The current Brunei national road system consists of a vast national highway network, along with related facilities like gas stations, rest areas, and land border crossings, a waterway network that is significant at several key locations. An urban and inter-district public transportation bus network based on franchised and commercial services, along with associated stops and interchanges. There are 216,000 licensed motor vehicles as of 2013, the majority of which are private cars. With an annual vehicle growth rate of 9%, there are over 1,400 newly registered private vehicles per month. When compared to other countries, it shows extraordinarily high levels of car ownership, use, and dependency, with 3,167 kilometers, 1,968 miles of roads throughout Brunei. The highway network dominates the country's transportation infrastructure. There was no road connecting Brunei town and Kuala Belait in 1953. To get to Danau, one must go all the way to Kuala Tutong and board a ferry there. To go to Kuala Belait from Danau, one must carefully travel along the beach until approximately Nduki. With the opening of the $139 million Raja Isteri Pengiran Anak Haja Salaya Bridge on 14 October 2017, the 750 meters (2,460 feet) long bridge connecting Mukim Lumapaz with the capital was officially opened by Sultan Hassanal Bolkiah. The structure, which was constructed as a joint venture between the local company SWI and South Korea's Daelim Industrial, is the second longest single pylon cable-stayed bridge in the world. The flyover was anticipated to relieve commuter traffic between Lumapaz and Bandar Seri Begawan. The current Jalan Bengkurang Masin and Jalan Tutong highways are used by more than 18,000 drivers each day that commute from Mukim Lumapaz and the adjacent villages. A 600 mm 24-in gauge railway was built in the early 1930s by Royal Dutch Shell, now Brunei Shell Petroleum, to span the approximate 19 kilometers between its Syria refinery and a water pumping station at Batas. It transported both water and building supplies. The line was taken apart and the equipment was concealed during World War II to protect it from advancing Japanese soldiers. The railway was repaired by Australian forces when the island of Borneo was liberated in 1945. Several sources claim that it was still in use well into the early years of the 21st century. The path between Syria and Batas is now a road, and it's thought that some of the track is still in place. The Department of Civil Aviation, DCA, a governmental agency that regulates aviation issues, is in charge of managing and operating Brunei International Airport, country's main international entry point, in a safe, secure, and effective manner. The goal is to make sure that rules and regulations on safety and security are carefully upheld and followed, in accordance with national laws and regulations as well as the ICAO's standard and recommended practices. The primary international entry point for the country is at the Brunei International Airport. Additionally, it is the main hub of the national airline Royal Brunei Airlines. There is only one passenger terminal at the airport, which is utilized for both domestic and international flights. In September 2017, a corporation called the Maritime and Port Authority of Brunei Darussalam, MPABD, was created. In addition to regulating and controlling navigation within the port's boundaries and along its approaches, MPABD serves to enhance port efficiency and development. The MPA also performs licensing and regulatory duties with regard to commerce ships, notably with regard to maritime safety. Muara Port is located about 28 kilometers (17 mi) from Pusit Bandar. There is a minimum sea depth of 12.5 meters and a berth length of 250 meters at the Muara Container Terminal. 2 Panamax quay cranes are available for use at the Muara Container Terminal. The dedicated container wharfs facilities cover 92,034 square meters and have a capacity of 220,000 TEUs per year. The linear berth at the Muara Conventional Terminal is 611 meters long with a 12.5-meter draft, and the aggregate berth is 87 meters long with a 5.2-meter draft. In Sarasa on the shores of Brunei Bay sits the country's primary ferry terminal, Sarasa Ferry Terminal. 4 times per day, the terminal handles frequent return roll-on roll-off, RoRo, services to Labuan, and less frequently to Menambak, Sabah, for travelers and vehicles traveling to Kota Kinabalu. Education in Brunei is provided or regulated by the Government of Brunei through the Ministry of Education, Kementerian Pendidikan, and the Ministry of Religious Affairs, Kementerian Hal Ehwal Ugama. The former manages most of the government and private schools in the country, whereas the latter specifically administers government schools which provide the Ugama or Islamic religious education. Formal education comprises compulsory, post-secondary and higher education. Compulsory education may be of 2 types: general education, which takes 12 years and consists of preschool, primary and secondary, and Islamic religious primary education, which lasts 7 years and is compulsory for Muslim pupils in Brunei. General education may be attained in government or private schools, whereas religious education is attained in government religious schools. Post-secondary education may consist of 6th form, which is an extension of secondary and allows direct entrance to higher education, and technical and vocational education, which are provided in government institutions and private colleges. Higher education from bachelor's degree is provided in 4 government universities. Schooling for compulsory education is fully subsidized by the government for the citizens of Brunei, and it usually extends to post-secondary and university. As of 2019, the Ministry of Education administered or oversaw 232 schools in the preschool, primary and secondary levels, 12 technical and vocational institutions, and 7 universities and other tertiary level institutions. They employed 10,942 teachers, out of which 72.9% were female. A total of 107,166 students were enrolled, whereby 49.9% were female. In the same year, the Ministry of Religious Affairs administered 158 Islamic religious schools, employing 2,205 teachers and enrolling 36,926 students. Healthcare. Brunei's healthcare system is managed by the Brunei Ministry of Health and funded by the General Treasury. It consists of around 15 health centers, 10 clinics and 22 maternal facilities. Considered to be of reasonable standard, there are also 2 private hospitals. Cardiovascular disease, cancer, and diabetes are the leading cause of death in the country. Brunei's Human Development Index, HCI, improved from 0.81 in 2002 to 0.83 in 2021. Expanding at an average annual rate of 0.14%. According to the UN's Human Development Report 2020, the HCI for girls in the country is greater than for boys, though aren't enough statistics in Brunei to break down HCI by socio-economic classes. Brunei is the second country in Southeast Asia after Singapore to be rated 47th out of 189 nations on the UN HDI 2019 and has maintained its position in the very high human development category. Being a culturally taboo subject, the rate of suicide has not been investigated. Brunei has a 76-year life expectancy at birth in 2020. And it saw an increase in life expectancy at birth from 63.13 years in 1971 to 76 years in 2020, expanding at an average annual rate of 0.38%. The life expectancy at birth in 2020 was around 77.26 years for women and approximately 74.86 years for men. Heart disease, 15.7%, cerebrovascular disorders, 9.2%, diabetes mellitus, 9.8%, and cancer, 19%, were the top killers in Brunei. More than 50% of all deaths were caused by 4 non-communicable diseases, NCDs. There are 4 government hospitals in Brunei, 1 in each district. The largest is Raja Isteri Pengiran Anak Salaya Hospital, Ripas Hospital. There are 2 private medical centers, Gleneagles JPMCSDNBHD and Jarudong Park Medical Center. Healthcare in Brunei is charged at $1 per consultation for citizens and is free for anyone under 12 years old. There are currently no medical schools in Brunei. Sport, the most popular sport in Brunei. The Brunei national football team joined FIFA in 1969, but has not had much success. Brunei's top football league is the Brunei Super League, which is managed by the Football Association of Brunei Darussalam, FABD. The nation has its own martial arts called Silat Sufian Bela Diri. Brunei debuted at the Olympics in 1996 and has competed at all subsequent Summer Olympics except the 2008 edition. The country has competed in badminton, shooting, swimming, and track and field, but has yet to win any medals. The Brunei Darussalam National Olympic Council is the National Olympic Committee for Brunei. Brunei has had slightly more success at the Asian Games, winning 4 bronze medals. The first major international sporting event to be hosted in Brunei was the 1999 Southeast Asian Games. According to the all-time Southeast Asian Games medal table, Bruneian athletes have won a total of 14 gold, 55 silver and 163 bronze medals at the Games.